Hello, friends. Welcome back to the Everyday Woman podcast. We are on episode 2. Today, we will be talking about investing in ourselves, and we will be interviewing the amazing Miss Kristina Mullings. We'll be talking about how she got to her journey and where she is in real estate, but also all the steps she's taken to invest in herself to get her to where she is today. So, thank you, and let's welcome her. This is my cousin, Kristina Mullings, and she's here with us. She is a real estate mogul, but she also has a day job, and she is an everyday woman like everyone I've been interviewing. And I really wanted to have you on this episode because I've been thinking a lot about how you really inspire me.
Oh.
Yeah, you do.
She makes me blush.
Yes, she does. I don't think there's a lot of people who are younger than me that I can say like inspire me, and you really do inspire me.
Oh,
so cheers to that. Cheers to that.
Cheers.
So I first wanted the people to know, of course, we are cousins. We met basically at birth, but we aren't that far apart in age from each other. Right. I think it's only like a few
2 years.
2 years.
Yeah.
2 years.
Mm-hmm.
So, but Christy's younger than me, and like I said, like there's not a lot of people that are younger than me that inspire me. So I just had to have you on here to tell the people what you're up to.
Oh, thank you. Well, I'm very
excited to be here.
Yes.
It's chill, girl. It's chill. Don't worry. So the first thing I wanted to ask is just like, tell us about what you do on a day-to-day at work. Like, what's your real life job? Like, all that stuff.
All that stuff. Okay, so I have a full-time job at a utility company, and I've been working there for actually 7 years. So that's my main job. I kind of went from mechanic to where I am now. So aside from that, then I do real estate.
Yes!
So real estate, investing, realtor, agent, kind of everything in between. So that's all outside my full-time job.
So how did you necessarily get into real estate? Like, did you like research it and was like, this is something I want to do? Or was it just something that was like, okay, maybe I should just buy a house one day? Because sometimes I feel like you're always buying a house.
I know.
Like, girl, I can't keep up.
Yeah. Well, it was never a thought to me to invest in real estate. It was actually brought upon by my boyfriend and kind of introduced in passive income and generational wealth. So once I started learning those concepts, I started investing my time more and learning about real estate, getting my real estate license, and then I purchased my first property. But a lot of research before I even did any of that.
So you said that you started that in 2020, right?
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
That's not too long ago from where you're at now.
No, not really.
You made a really far leap.
Thank you.
And that goes back to investing in ourselves.
Yes,
okay?
exactly.
So that required like a lot of research. So was this just like a mutual interest between you and your boyfriend? Did it become something that was like, oh, like we could do this together?
Yeah, I mean, it started off, we could do it together, and we bought our first property together, and we flipped it, and then eventually, like, he bought his own properties, I bought my own properties, but it did start off as a joint effort to just learn what to do, because there's so much you could do in real estate.
So let's start off with that, because I think people think it's so, like, we are young, and they're like, oh, I don't want to buy a property because I don't want to get stuck with the property, or like, people don't really think about investing in real estate because they're like, oh, that's too big of a, an investment, or that's too big of a responsibility. And you said you did this with your boyfriend, not your husband, but your boyfriend, right? So like, I think we had talked about it before where you said you saw it not as like this big life change, but something that could be beneficial for the both of you. So can you talk a little bit more about that and how that decision was just like, and other people's opinions and how that can kind of get in the way too.
Yeah, I love that you brought that up because I get that a lot where people say, oh, I don't want to buy anything yet because I don't want to be locked into anything.
Yeah.
For me, I wouldn't want to rent anything ever because I'm locked in for 12 months.
Yeah.
And I have to pay that rent.
Yeah.
So if I buy a house and I have a mortgage, I can sell it the next month later and I could profit off of it.
Yeah.
You could lose money, you could profit off of it. It depends on the market.
Yeah.
But I'd be more scared to, rent out a property and not be able to pay the rent for a whole year.
That's such a unique perspective. Because people are like, I have to buy, I buy a house, I put down a lot of money, I invest into it. But recently I've been thinking about it because I did post a video on my TikTok about this. I do have a property in Philly that I bought in 2022.
Yes.
And it has been the bane of my existence, y'all. But it is finally rented full time. It was Airbnb for a while. And I think the only thing that really brings me back when I'm like, I cannot believe I have to pay this mortgage again this month is the fact that I'm paying my mortgage. Like, I'm not paying rent.
Yes.
And although it is like a big decision, and like if you do have the money to do it, I say go ahead and do it. It is a lot of responsibility.
It is, yes.
And we'll talk about the trials and tribulations.
Oh, yeah.
that we have to go through.
There's a lot.
There's a lot. But I feel like, you know, the only thing that brings me back to earth is like the fact that, okay, I'm actually paying my mortgage. At least I'm not paying rent. I know there's interest, but my interest is not astronomically high compared to where things are right now. So I do think, and my parents have always been big on like not renting if you can, if you don't have to, and just like putting the money back into yourself, because eventually when I sell it, it will be worth hopefully a shit ton of money. So
100%,
so I can pay off my mortgage and then make money on top of that.
Exactly.
So I think that's like, and honestly, you drove me to do this. I'm not gonna. I mean, I don't think I ever told you that.
Really?
And my other cousin Megan, she deserves a shout out.
Oh, Megan.
Yes, my other cousin Megan, she deserves a shout out. And I think that like you just have to take the leap sometimes.
You do. Yeah. And that was one of the things, because I did some research. I started researching about real estate in 2019, and I bought my first property in March of 2020. So I really wasn't in the research phase for long, because if I want to do something, I'm just going to do it and figure it out later.
So is that just your whole personality?
It is.
Okay. So
it is.
Not everybody is like that to be able to like take that jump. And what would you say to the girls who are not particularly like that, who are just like, I'm going to just take that leap? Like, what do you think in your brain makes you say like, well, I might as well just do it?
Well, I look at opportunity costs, and it's real.
Yeah.
The cost that it will take for you to not do something, or the money that you will lose out just because you don't do it.
Yeah.
That's what I think about.
Yes,
exactly. Those non-existent things that I know will happen in the future.
Yeah.
It'll happen. So that's all I think about. And even like going back to what you said about just taking a leap.
Yeah.
I booked my trip to Bali last year for my birthday by myself. I said, I'll figure it out. It's either someone's going to come with me or not.
Yeah.
And then 4 other girls made it to the trip.
Yeah.
That's just how it happens.
You just got to do what's best for you and push yourself to do what's best for you.
Yes. They say push yourselves and others will follow.
Yes, we love that. So what keeps your drive in real estate? So you bought this first house, and then kind of how did the journey continue from there? So like, after you bought the first house, what was the next steps? Did you still do this with your boyfriend? Did you not? Like, give us the deets.
Okay, I'll give it all. So I did. So my first property, it was meant to be actually a buy and hold. So I was just fixing it up and then getting a tenant in there and holding on to it. Okay. So it needed a lot of work, and that was the first time I'm renovating property. So my background is a mechanic. I'm a hands-on person, but I've never renovated bathrooms and kitchens and doing flooring. So
I did not know you were like a background was a mechanic.
Yeah.
Wow. You learn new things every day, y'all. Every day.
So I'm an electrical mechanic by trade. Okay. So all these things I had to learn, and I'm so thankful for my dad. He's a very hands-on person, so he was able to teach me all this stuff. And it was kind of perfect timing because not a lot of people were working with COVID. So they gave us a better schedule at work, so we couldn't be there. So I had more days off to actually work on the property.
Right.
So fast forward to that, I got my first tenant, rented it out, and I ended up selling it because it was a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom.
Yeah.
Also wouldn't recommend buying smaller property. I wouldn't say recommend, but it wasn't good for turnover rate as a landlord. So that's the reason I ended up selling it and flipped it and got great profits from it. So I just wanted to move on from there and keep going.
Sometimes it's like I don't want to deal with this. Like, get out the way.
Exactly. So that was one of those. Yeah.
Nice.
It was great.
So how many properties do you now own, would you say?
I own 4 properties now.
Okay. And where are they located? 2
in New York, 2 in Georgia.
Nice. Yeah. So how did you start? So what made you decide to start investing in Georgia?
Well, my aunt is in the military, and she lives in Savannah. And after I had a property in Syracuse, and horrible landlord-tenant issue there where they weren't paying rent for 8 months.
Jesus!
For 8 months, I was ready to leave New York, as I cannot own another property in New York and pay multiple mortgages and not have any rent coming in. So I needed to go to a landlord-friendly state, and Georgia is one of them.
Okay.
So she showed me the area. Savannah, I loved. I don't know if you've been to Savannah, but amazing.
I haven't been to Savannah.
Really?
Actually. No, because when I was also looking for proproperties to buy in 2022, so I think like maybe we were all just pushed by COVID, because like that's when I started looking too. I was looking in Atlanta. And so I was flying out with my dad every once in a while. And I was just like, logistically, I was trying to see how it would work for me, because I was like, I don't really see how I can get out here if something happens. So I was thinking of it from that standpoint. And then I've always wanted to own a house in Philly. Like I always said that when I was going there for college, when I was in Temple, I was like, I want to buy like an investment property once I graduate of some sort. So then I was like, maybe I should backtrack to Philly. So that's how I ended up in Philly.
Okay.
Do I recommend it? That's a whole other
That's
story.
a whole other episode.
A whole other episode. Because I know we both have looked in Philly before, and we're just like, Philly has some really good opportunities. Like their market is really building like crazy. Like Philly, especially North Philly, is building like crazy. It's going to take a while. It's definitely one of those in it for the long haul investments type things.
Absolutely. Yes. You set it and forget it with that
like, literally, you have to buy it, set it and forget it, which is now like my whole thing when it comes to this house. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to forget that it even exists. So my house is now with a management company, so they are taking care of it, so I don't have to put as much time. And I could spend more time doing things like this instead of worrying who's going to be in my house next Tuesday.
Exactly.
But anyway, back to Georgia. So how often do you travel back and forth to like maintain the property, or like what does that look like right now?
I don't actually.
Ooh.
I don't go there.
Ooh.
I go there only times when I'm going to look at another property maybe, or if I need to do some business transactions where I need to be there. Most of the time, everything I can do is online. I manage my properties from here. I have a cleaner there that will check on the property, but other than that, I do all my management from here. So
you and your dad went out there. Did you guys have to like do renovations on the property when you first got it?
Yeah, so the property that I bought in Savannah, I paid my dad and my uncle. I said, hey, do you guys want a job?
I know.
And they said, no problem. So I paid them to renovate the whole property. It took them 3 weeks. So
that's good.
It was amazing, top to bottom, doing everything. And that property is actually Section 8. So it was actually nice to be able to provide a wonderful, newly renovated house to somebody on Section 8. So that way it's giving somebody a little more, better housing than your typical Section 8 rentals. So, yeah.
That's cool. I mean, Uncle Rodney really be coming through.
Yeah.
He knows everything.
He knows how to do everything.
He knows how to do everything.
Yes.
He's having like a real handy dad. I like that. I mean, so Uncle Rodney, how do we fix...
He fixed everything.
How do you fix everything?
Yes.
So yeah,
he will literally build a house.
No, he literally will build a house. Like get on his foot and be like, "All right," and he'll complain and then be like,
he'll complain
and then be like, "JK, he loves doing it."
Oh my goodness!
And I'm sure he loves doing it for you.
Yes, he does. So it's really great to have him. He's actually on a job for me right now in Richmond, Virginia. So
what's
that's
going on in Richmond?
I'm flipping a property there.
So you now have another one too.
Yeah, but that's what I'm not holding on to. Just flipping it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So what do you think is like the major difference between flipping properties and like the ones that you long-term rent? Like what decision do you need to make to decide what you're going to do with the property? So like what thought process and what questions or whatever comes into play for you to decide like, oh, I'm going to flip this or I'm just going to hold on to this?
Got it. So for some example, like the Richmond, Virginia property came to me through referral, and not something I was looking to, not a market I was looking to get into, specifically Richmond, just because I don't know much about it.
Yeah.
So a property like that, I wouldn't want to set up shop and operations to get it going for me to be able to manage it from here. So that's an opportunity. I say, okay, I can flip it and make, XYZ amount of money off of it and move on.
Yeah.
Somewhere in Savannah where I say, okay, this is a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house. It meets my criteria. Then I'm willing to hold on to it. Other than that, if it's not my criteria, either wholesaling it or flipping it is my route.
So you have like certain brackets of things that you check off in boxes in terms of deciding if it's worth it or not.
Exactly. It's called a buy box.
Okay.
Yeah.
You could do a whole session. Okay.
Yeah.
You could do a whole what is a buy box?
So a buy box is your criteria, what you're looking for. So let's say you come to me, hey, I'm looking for an investment property. If I show you a house, you're like, oh no, I didn't want that.
Yeah.
So I don't know what you're gonna want. So a buy box is your criteria: 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom minimum. It needs to be either in okay condition, or you want it to be able to be renovated. It needs to be a single family or a multi-family. It needs to have a backyard. So it's all your criteria, so people know exactly what you're looking for, or that way you know what you're looking for.
Yeah. Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so I feel like we are both pretty young. You are younger than me by 2 years. And I feel like you are significantly advanced in terms of when it comes to real estate, like education, investing in yourself. So like, let's talk about that. So rewind. Did you get a college education? Did you not? Like, what was your kind of progression from schooling of high school to now where you are?
So I love this story. And I don't know if you know this story.
I don't think I do.
So when I graduated high school, all of my friends went away to college.
Yeah. And
I went away to a community college about an hour from my house. And I went for electrical engineering, super boring. And I did like maybe a couple classes, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to go. I was a manager at Wendy's still. I was like, I'm going to go transfer to the Wendy's over here and just work.
Yeah.
So I didn't tell my dad I dropped out of school. What? Yes, yeah. So I opted to work. I was like, I'm a manager at Wendy's. I need to work. This is for me. School's not for me. So I forgot to actually withdraw from the college classes. So it was still in the classes.
So girl, you just left the property? I'm deceased. I know Uncle Roddy was
I just left.
So much you just left.
Oh my God. What? So I didn't realize there was a process to it. And I got all Fs. And I had to stay at my sister's house for a couple of days until things rolled over. So that was my college experience. The next semester, I just took a couple classes, college classes, but I really wanted to work. So my dad was like, well, if you want to work, go take a test and become a mechanic. So that's what I did. And that's where I started my company, and I've been there for years. Yeah. And I kind of just worked my way up. And then I went back to school and got my college education, my bachelor's degree, and I graduated in 2020. So.
Nice. Yeah. I did not know that. Yeah. Wow. The things you find out when you ask the questions, right? Okay. Awesome. But then I also feel like a huge thing for a lot of women is that we spend so much time at work, at our day jobs, just trying to figure out like how to make more money, how to do more things for ourselves. Yes. And I think that in addition to the education that you have and the experience that you have, you spent a lot of time investing in your education outside of just traditional schooling. So can you tell me a little bit more about like what you've done particularly to invest in yourself in those ways? Yeah.
So outside of college, I had to get my real estate license. Well, I didn't have to, but I had to go through courses to get it. Yeah. And that was 100% optional. So I did have to spend 9 classes. Traveling to the Bronx to get my real estate license. And from there, it didn't stop. It's like on-the-job training, getting experience from working with different clients. And then also going to conferences, flying to Orlando, Vegas, different states, just to meet people and network and learn from them.
And these are conferences that you've opted to go and attend. Like these aren't things that you were required to attend. These are things that you either found online or find through podcasts, and then you decided you're going to go to. Exactly.
So these are, and I also have a full-time job, so I would take off of work, use my vacation days to go to these conferences. But this is where I really learned the most outside of podcasts. And I love podcasts too. Don't get me wrong. I have so many podcasts I would recommend that I listen to every morning during my commute.
Maybe we'll drop some of those in the description so people can take a look at those.
Yeah, because they're great. But just investing in that, going to meetups, events. I tried to go to at least 4 meetups a month. We're just like networking events so I can meet people, learn from other people. Because that's where I feel like I really get the most out of it.
Nice. So what groups are you a part of currently right now that you want to share with the peoples?
So I'm in a lot of groups. Yeah. I am in Lady Landlords. Becky Nova, she actually hosts it in New York. And just about I think it's 40,000 women in that group. Crazy. Yeah, there's a lot. And I'm also in Pace Morby Sub 2 group where he teaches a lot about real estate. And for meetups that I started doing with me and my partner, Rob Young, we started doing Casual Breakfast Club meetups on the second Tuesday every month. And it's been great so far, being able to host events, bring people together. It's a little bit of real estate education and networking at the same time. And we have icebreaker games. So with people who really don't know how to go out there and engage and network, it kind of breaks that ice for them to ask the right questions. So that's one of the newest things I've been a part of that I'm so grateful to be able to host.
So for those breakfasts, so this is like the one that you host with your partner, are they like, what is the main focus of those meetings? Just for networking, and like what else do you guys teach and go over in those meetings?
So it's different every month.
Okay.
We usually have a speaker that will come in, and so this month it's going to be transaction coordinating, how to really keep good care of your documents when you're doing real estate transactions. The month prior, we talked about whole life insurance policies.
What?
Whole nother topic. We talked about setting up life insurance policies. So every time it's a different topic, but we try to make sure it's educational for the people who are just starting out, but also a good networking opportunity for the people who are already in real estate.
True, child. You done killed us with that. Yeah. In a good way, though, because I feel like so many people don't take the time to really go out and look at, listen to podcasts in the morning, or just like take the time to look at a course that they could take for themselves.
Yes,
I have a friend who is really into, she's really into interior design. Oh, yeah. And she has a full-time job, and now she's like taking interior design courses just to do things on the side to really kickstart where she could go with that. So I feel like we don't spend enough time really investing in ourselves, and it's really important to just take, whatever little money we got to scrap together. Sometimes it is worth it to take that course, y'all. Sometimes it is worth it. Like, if you're not particularly interested in real estate, but you're interested in another topic or something that, could really benefit you, like, it's worth it.
It's 100%.
It is worth it. I would say for like my continuing education. So I worked at a company where I was a project manager, and I had no idea what the heck that was. Yeah. And I was just like, oh, this seems like a fun job. Yeah. And my manager was getting her master's in project management. And my parents were pushing me to go back to school, and I was like, y'all, I'm not going back to school if I don't know what I'm going to school for.
Right.
Like, this is dumb.
Like, I don't know what I'm doing here.
Right, I don't know what I'm doing here. A lot of parents will try to push on you, like, just go straight through. And in some parts, that is helpful, but in some parts, I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to school for, so why would I even spend the money to really decide what that is? Right. But when I had talked to my manager, she would send me, like, videos, and she would send me articles and things just to read on project management, and I was like, oh, I actually kind of like this. Yeah. So that's when I kind of did my research and started seeing if like it was worth it for me to go to grad school, and like see if it was worth it for me to get my project management master's. At the time, there were only like 3 PM programs in the city, so there weren't a lot there. So I was like, maybe this would be a good fit. And then I applied to one school, NYU, and miraculously I got in. Brain blast. But to say that I think was worth the investment for myself, because that PM degree is what ultimately got me my next job, which was like a strict project management job. And then as I've progressed in my career, it showed me how to be a better manager. It showed me how to really like delegate tasks, which is a huge part of project management. And people really don't know how to delegate. Yeah. And I didn't really notice that. Yeah. People really don't know how to delegate. So it taught me how to like delegate tasks, but then also like delegate in a way that makes sense for the people who work for you. Yes. I think that degree really helped me understand like how to play on people's strengths and even play on people's weaknesses, and how to kind of use them to balance out each other. And then even to the job that I have now, like I project manage events all the time. So sometimes it's worth it to take that course or that investment or that whatever you need to do to really get yourself to that next level.
I agree. Yeah. Even if you learn one thing from it or meet one person that makes an impact, it's worth it.
Yeah. How would you say investing in yourself has really changed your life? Because I feel like it really has.
Oh, it has. It has. I don't even know where to start. I would say when I started young in my career, I started at 19 in a major corporation as a mechanic. So I've already moved up so far. But without really learning about real estate and investing my money properly, I don't know where I would be.
Yeah.
Because most companies will tell you max out your 401k and invest in company stocks.
Yeah.
And, maybe the first 2 years I believed that. But now I'm like, oh, I'm investing in Tesla. Why do I have to invest in the company stocks? I'm already here 8 hours a day. I invested enough. But no, just being able to learn outside of that.
Yeah.
And I realize when I'm surrounded by people, I wouldn't say people are average, but the average thinking.
Yeah.
It's really detrimental.
Okay. Yeah, let's talk about that.
Oh my goodness.
When people really say that you need to be a little delusional, like you really do need to be a little delusional. And it's not impractical. Like your dreams are not impractical. The things that you want to do are not impractical. Like, and I was just listening to another Balanced Black Girl podcast. I don't know if you listen to that, but I'm going to send it to you.
Yeah, please.
I love that podcast. And this morning's podcast was about basically how to have the mindset of a millionaire.
Yes.
And she talked about how, if you are surrounding people that are telling you like, that sounds impossible or that sounds really far out, wait like 2 years or 5 years or have a strategy or have a plan. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's just worth it to leap at it. And those people might not be the best people that you need to surround yourselves with. Absolutely. You're always supposed to surround yourself with people that are doing better than you or are doing like just in the trenches with you. Like that's the kind of the whole purpose of me doing these episodes is to really highlight the people that are around me who I think are like, we're all working kind of hard and we're not all working kind of hard. We're all working really hard. We are working really hard to get to this next level of where we're trying to be. And she just talked about like having a millionaire mindset means that you really have to be okay with the other people not being okay with what you're doing.
Right.
Yeah.
Like once you understand that, like I'm not crazy and maybe I am unreasonable, but there's a quote about the unreasonable person adjusts the world around themselves opposed to the other way around.
Yeah.
And I'm not here to be average or just adjust to how life is. And so I'm okay with changing that. And I think it's maybe our generational thing. We're okay with not being okay, and we're okay with saying exactly how we feel and what we think is right. So that's needless to say about kind of like them asking me telling me to just max out this, that. I kind of, at first it seemed like the right way to go. But then when I'm learning more about whole life insurance policies, investing outside of here, other stock companies that are actually performing, like I want my money to be here, not in this 401k that's going to be taxed when I retire anyway.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
So when we think about like, I think there are multiple ways to invest in yourself or multiple ways to invest in general. Yes. It's not just real estate. It's also not just stocks.
Right.
But it's like an investment of your like education to yourself. Yes. Like your best investment is always going to be yourself.
Oh, yeah.
Always going to be yourself. And putting the money back into yourself is really going to be what drives you forward. But like, what are some other things and other investments? Like you can also invest in a business, like maybe not through stocks, but like if someone has a really good idea, or I'm sure there's like a whole bunch of apps out there that have like small businesses that you could invest in. I have friends who have groups who are like, we have this idea or we want to group invest in a property. Like those are also things that you can look into. There are so many ways to make money.
There really is.
Like, you know how many podcasts I've been listening to? And I think because I've been listening to the podcast, the TikToks have been coming up on my screen that are like, that are like,
once you think about something or say it, it's going to come up.
It's like, make $1 million in 5 days. And I'm not saying it's not impractical, but I'm saying that like, there are so many ways to make money and so many ways that we can like really push ourselves out there to do those things.
Absolutely. There's so many people now that are like solopreneurs, and there's a website, Biz Buy Sell, where you can buy businesses. Most people that are retiring and they just don't want to operate their business anymore, people will come in and just revamp operation, and then they'll have a business.
What?
Yeah.
I need to get that.
It's a thing.
What? I need to get on that.
Yeah. But I would say, since you talked about investing in yourself, I think for me, this past year, investing $180 a month in Orange Theory has changed my life.
Yeah, girl.
It has changed my life.
Yeah.
I feel good. I feel healthy.
Yeah.
I'm actually committing to my gym classes. So that's one thing that I'm looking at to have for my next business is an Orange Theory.
Yes. It's about investing. So you are still, but you're still investing in yourself. You're investing in your health and wellness.
Exactly.
So that's
that's my biggest investment.
Yes. You have to invest in you, but it's not just a financial thing. It's investing in yourself to perform better as a human being. So I basically decided I did a video about this. So I think about in December of this past year, I had a phone call with my therapist and I was just saying like, something has got to give. Like something has got to change. Like I'm doing really well for myself, but I feel like I'm ready to really push myself to that next level. And I need to be able to like equip myself to get there. And I wasn't really sure how I was going to do it, but I wasn't working out. I was burnt out because, you know, like you see me at Christmas, girl, it's a crazy. We throw this
crazy
big
operation.
Christmas dinner as a crazy operation at my parents' house. And it's like 50 people and it drains the life out of you, but it is very worth it. Every single year, it is so worth it to see all of us to get together. But I'm usually like super burnt out by the end of the year. And I'm like, oh, and Chrissy came over to help me and she was like, what do you need, girl? She texted me. She's like, she asked me like 5 times, what do you need? What do you need? And she was like, I'm pulling up with the drinks. And she made this really apple cider
mimosas.
Yes.
Really good.
They were bomb. We need to drop a recipe for
They were gone. They were gone.
But it was at that point that I was just like, something has to change in order for me to really launch myself. And I wasn't taking care of my body. Like I wasn't going to the gym. I wasn't like taking vitamins. I wasn't like listening to things that were really going to help me. So any like podcasts and everyone's like, oh, you got to listen to a podcast. Yes, I am, because it's better than me listening to the same playlist I've been listening to for the last year and a half.
How many Beyonce songs in here?
How many Beyonce songs can I hear? Like, I mean, we love Beyonce.
Right.
So I'm not going to hear Beyonce. It's just how many times, like, what else am I going to be able to do to invest in myself? So that's really when I took the time to start a routine because I didn't have one.
Oh, good.
So I started initially with just podcasting and listening to a podcast when I woke up, and that was Balanced Black Girl. So I started all the way from the first season. And it was just something to like help me wake up. Because girl, I was waking up at 7:30, rolling over and getting to work at 9.
Oh.
No plan. Nothing. No plan, nothing. And then after that, I decided that like, I was like, oh, I'm waking up earlier. Like, I have a little bit more time. I can maybe make a little breakfast while I'm listening to this podcast. So I started waking up at 6:30. And then maybe about after 2 weeks or 3 weeks of consistently doing that, I was just like, oh, maybe I should start going to the gym again. And I started going on a Sunday over the weekend. And then I was like, all right, now I got to bring this into the work week. So now I wake up at 5:30 every morning and I go to the gym. And
look at that.
I know. It's been about a month and a half and we're still going strong. But to your point, it has changed my life. Because now I'm not like in the morning, I would just do nothing and then go to work. And then at the end of the day, I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to eat dinner, go to the gym, go out and meet friends. Like, I just can't do it all, or figure out how to like listen to a podcast or do something to invest myself. You cannot do it all at one time. And when your brain is in the mindset of like, okay, I can focus in the morning and I've done my workout and now I'm starting my day. I've started it earlier. Maybe I've paid a bill or two. Maybe I've like shopped online a little bit before I've gone to work. Listen to the news, because I never listen to the news anymore. So it's just now that I have this kind of routine, I can take the time to do things like this in the afternoon, and I can take the time to like, you know, just listen to another podcast or read a book, which like I really haven't done yet, so I need to really get on that. But
I've already, you know, settled myself that I just can't read a book. I don't have the patience. I don't even know what it is. I can't read a book anymore.
Should we be ashamed?
I don't know. I can't, like 3 sentences in, I'm like, what did I just read?
Like, should we be ashamed? Like, I don't know.
That's why we got audio books, Audible.
So I listen to Audible. I listen to like a podcast or something that's like, just something that's going to change my mind. I like listening to motivational podcasts. That kind of helped me. I think that like, it is also fun to listen to the fun stuff too about just like gossip or whatever, but I particularly am just not too interested in that because I feel like I'm kind of just in this zone of like, we're going somewhere with this. But I like, to your point of just it having it change your life, I think waking up earlier to the 5 a.m. crew. Aren't you like the 4:30?
The 5 a.m. I'm the 3:45
That's
a.m.
insane,
crew.
But
that's
insane. mean?
No, the 5 a.m. club that's where like work really happens.
Yes,
that's
it's where work really happens.
Yeah.
And you really just have to push yourself. And one thing that if you're not a 5 a.m. person or you're not a 5 a.m. club yet, or you're trying to be, and you can be with your job schedule, the one thing that I listened to on that podcast was like doing a schedule that's kind of like rolling into like a bigger schedule. So that's why I started off with just podcasting. Yeah. And then I like progressed into also adding another thing in there. And then eventually I'll hopefully add something else.
Right. Easier way into
it. So easier way into it. So you're not like, on January 1st, I'm going to do all this stuff. And if I don't get it done, and you likely never follow through.
Ever.
So it's just like, you don't beat yourself up about it. It's done. But another big part for me about just investing in the health part of myself is being kind to myself when I don't meet those expectations. Right. Like every once in a while, I might not get up and go to the gym because I really had a long day before and my body needs the rest. Yeah. So just like listening to myself and my body and not being hard on myself when for one night I came home and I decided I was just going to do nothing.
Yeah, it's okay.
It's okay.
We have to learn how to forgive ourselves for being tired. Yeah. And like even when I came back from Thailand, I tried to go to the gym the next morning and I just couldn't get up. And I don't know why I even tried. Yeah. I knew I was going to have jet lag, but I didn't get up in the next gym class. He was like, oh, I saw you cancel your class. I'm like, yeah, I just got back from Thailand the day before. He was like, are you crazy? Like, why did you even attempt? You could not.
Because we're nuts.
I know. It's like,
well,
you know
nuts,
what? You're right. So it's okay to be tired and it's okay to forgive ourselves when we can't go 24/7.
So how would you say, like, in terms of the progression of your real estate journey and like you investing in yourself and doing all the things, how have you been kind to yourself in terms of like wrestling with the roadblocks that come ahead? Like, how do you deal with that? Because in real estate, there's just so many things that happen. It is not like you buy a house, you leave it alone, you make $1 million of money, and that's it. Like, there's a lot of work that goes into real estate, as I have learned recently this past year.
Oh my gosh.
And I will tell y'all the horror stories at some point, but not for this episode.
Not today.
But how do you really like continue to push yourself through all of those challenges? Because I know for me, after this house, I'm like, I don't know if this is for me. I'm glad I did it, but I'm not sure if this is for me. But for you, I feel like you just keep pushing forward even through, because you had like a really bad story happen to you in Syracuse. And like, how do you even push past that?
No, it's difficult. And for the issue with Syracuse, besides the fact that I wasn't getting rent for 8 months, the property caught on fire. So that was another very traumatic experience, as there was kids in the house. So for me, I'm like, okay, what's the worst that can happen? That. Yeah. So from here, it's like, I feel like I've been through the worst, and you cry. I cried. Yeah. I don't know what to do when you get a call at midnight that there's a fire and I'm 3 hours away. Yeah. So you go through that, like to think, what do I do? Yeah. But just having support, having people to talk about it. And that's why I surround myself with other people in real estate so much, or just whatever industry you're in, to surround yourself with those people, because most of the times they've been through that. Yeah. And they already know how to get through that, and they can help you get there. Yeah. So just having good people in your life that are you able to talk to and bounce ideas off of has just gotten me through every situation I've been in.
Yeah. Side note, the children are okay.
They're okay.
The children are okay. They are fine.
Yes, no one got hurt, but it was crazy.
But that is really a traumatic experience.
It was.
And also, like, I call Chrissy whenever something happens with my house, and I'm like, girl, or I text her, I'm like, girl, I can't do this anymore. Yeah. Literally.
And I'm calm, like, that's it.
That's all that happened. That's all that happened. The house didn't burn down. I'm like, I can't do this. Somebody broke the lock. This is dumb. Like, or like the back key is broken. Yeah. And I did have also a few crazy things happen to me. I had someone throw a really, really big house party at my house and completely destroyed it. It was not fun, let's say. That cleaning fee was not great. I also had a leak, and my house was brand new, so they had to rip out my entire kitchen, rip out my entire basement because the leak wasn't caught in time. Thank God for insurance, good people. That's why we have that. So,
yeah, exactly.
But I think even after all of that, I went to Philly with my brother the other day just to check on the house. And I was like, every time I walk into this house, it's like I'm re-reminded why I got it.
Yes.
I think maybe I'm a little bit too attached to my home because you have more experience with multiple homes, but I think I'm a little bit too attached to mine. But I think every time I walk in there, I'm like, I put money into this. I put work into this.
Yes.
This is my house.
Yeah.
I own this. And this is just a product of my work.
Right.
And, you know, it has a bunch of roadblocks, but it's going to get better.
It will. It always gets better. And then when it's paid off in the long run and you're just collecting straight income, it's like, thank God I got through those little issues in the past.
Yeah. So what would you say has been your favorite investment in yourself in terms of like, was it a course or is it like, what has been like your favorite so far out of all the things that you've attended and done? Which ones do you think have like really contributed to your success?
Well, I would say my favorite was Bigger Pockets Conference.
Yeah.
Where like 3,000 real estate investors get together. Tarek Musa and Heather Ray Musa were there. So many other like heavy hitters in real estate were there. And it's just so nice because when you're in like an industry like that, it's not about who's doing like what and who's doing more than the other person. It's how can we help each other?
Right.
And sometimes I feel working for corporations, it's like, okay, who can get this promotion quicker or who can be above you?
Yeah.
When the people above you are in real estate or in an industry, when you're in business, they're trying to bring you up with them.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
Yeah.
So that event was so impactful for me, and I'm planning on going again this year. And it's in Mexico, so that's gonna be fun. Tax write-offs to go to Mexico.
Oh yes, we gotta talk about the tax write-offs, the LLCs, the businesses.
There's so much.
I feel like we've done a lot for some young kids.
Yeah, when you think about like problems and people look at me like a kid, I'm like,
you have no idea
how many mortgages I got to pay on the first of the month. Waiting for tenants to pay me.
Yeah.
No idea.
I can only imagine. And I feel like I've met so many people recently within real estate. Like I've been hopping into people, you know, like my friend Ashley does real estate.
Yeah.
I have a lot of like these random guys who I've been meeting who are like, I'll bump into them at like a burger joint.
Yeah.
2 weekends ago, we met these guys who own these big like real estate developments in Stanford and then in New Rochelle, and like they manage buildings now in New Rochelle, and I'm like, wow, these people are cool.
Yeah,
and I have no interest in I don't have I'm not going to say I don't have interest in investing in property. That's a lie, because I do have interest in investing in property. I do know how I would do it differently this time.
Yes.
But I also think that it's so interesting for me to just sit and listen to people who really have so much success stories just investing in real estate.
Yeah. No, it really is. That's why I love it.
Yeah. And also, like we said again, you can invest in real estate, but there are also so many other things that you can invest in.
Oh, yeah.
That like I'm sure there are like a million podcasts about what you can invest in.
Real estate, stocks, insurances. I'm really like learning about insurances also too now. And there's so you said, there's so many businesses and podcasts you can listen to about it.
Yeah, and you want to invest in something I feel like that resonates with you, because then it gets boring. Like you don't want it to get boring. Whatever you invest in, you want it to be something that like you are genuinely interested and excited about. I was listening to this other podcast of this guy who was talking about drop shipping.
Oh yeah, that's another one.
Yeah. I was talking about drop shipping, and he was saying how people are just selling like crappy mugs and stuff for like and marking up the price and selling it on Amazon. And yes, they are making money off of it, but also he was like, it's so much more rewarding when you think about products that you actually care about. Like he's like really into grilling, so he like basically would drop ship like these huge grills that he would buy, or like get these not buy, but he's interested in like different types of grills and stuff. So that's how he like kind of launched his business. And his success with the business that he actually cared about has skyrocketed versus the ones that he started that he was like, everybody else is doing it, so let me just try it myself.
Yeah, exactly. And that's how most of the time, if you don't have passion in it, then there's really nothing keeping you to continue that.
Yeah. Dang, that's so crazy. Like, there are just so many things.
There's so many things. And I see, I've been thinking a little bit lately about like travel agents and stuff.
Oh,
yeah.
Tell me about that.
Wow. So I love traveling. And of course, it keeps popping on my feed, like getting paid to, travel and be a travel agent.
Yeah.
And, getting paid and hosted by other hotels and activities. So that's something I'm kind of exploring now. Not to be a primary business, but like, okay, how can I kind of leverage a little more and save money on traveling, and also maybe provide an experience for the people.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I plan all my vacations, I have itineraries, and I realize a lot of people do not like planning vacations.
No, they don't.
At all. They just want to pay and go.
Me.
So, yeah. Right.
Me.
Yeah.
No, okay.
So that's something I'm exploring. Like, I have so many itineraries that I would love to share.
Yeah. So how do you find the time? Because I feel like you work a full-time day job on top of all of this. So like, how do you find the time to do all this like real estate investment, attend all these conferences? Like, I feel like a lot of people want to do these things, but they don't have the ability to because of their work schedule.
Right.
So like, what would you recommend to people who work a full-time job like you, who are interested in like doing more stuff in real estate, but also just in general looking to invest in themselves?
Yeah, so time management is a huge thing that, you know, a lot of people don't have. However, everyone has a calendar.
Yeah. And
I utilize my calendar. If you're not on my calendar, I can't just make last minute events. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And also I'm rarely on social media, and people will realize how much time they'll gain by not being on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and all that stuff. I am barely on it.
Yeah.
So I saved a lot more time from that. I also had to plan my events out ahead of time just so I can make it with work schedule. So that's why my calendar is so useful. But last year I did get an assistant, and wow.
Okay.
Wow. My life has
love so hard in life that you need a life assistant. Okay.
I do.
You need a life assistant.
God. Shout out to Abil. She's been my assistant for a year. And well, it'll be a year in April. And she's made a huge difference in my life. Just like you said about delegating. Yeah. I always did everything myself. I do everything from property management and work, everything.
Yeah.
So now I'm learning how to delegate those things that I don't have time to do or necessarily don't want to spend time doing it. I delegate to my assistant.
Nice.
So yeah, she's my everything, my work assistant, my life assistant. She'll help me with my vacations. She is in the Philippines. So like when I go to Thailand or Bali, she's in that time zone. Like, hey, can you reach out to this person? Because she's already in that time zone. So I love it. She's amazing to me. And that's made a huge difference.
Nice. Yeah. I know a lot of people who have hired part-time VAs, like virtual assistants to help them with stuff. Like that is really helpful.
Yeah.
People, 100%. Especially in real estate, I know a lot of them. Yeah. My friend who's in wholesaling, she got a VA.
Yes.
My friend who also started her own event management business, she has a VA.
Yeah.
So I never thought about that. I don't think I particularly reached that level, but when I do, I'll let you know.
Yes. You call me and I'm like, you can't have mine, but I'll find you one.
I know. It's okay. We can go off the recommendations.
Yes.
That's so crazy. So I also think, and when it comes to like time management, I feel like people think sometimes like, oh, it's impossible to do it with my job. It is possible.
It is.
I think you have to prioritize what is important to you and like what is going to really get you to that next level. Are you going to invest your time in things that really push you to get to where you need to be? Versus like, oh, let's go to dinner, let's do this. Like, which is fine. We all want to hang out with our friends. We all need to make time to hang out with our friends. We need connections. We love our friends. But I also think, even thinking about the people who you're surrounding yourself with, like, could I go to dinner with people who are in real estate for you? Like, can we have conversations about things like that? Or like, can I meet up with a friend and I got into a really heated like business discussion with my friend, and we were like, let's just meet up and talk about this in real life instead of going back and forth via text. Because that's like a meaningful connection. And it was like, we just got really deep into business, and I was like, maybe we should just link up and talk about it.
Exactly.
So I think you might think you don't have the time, but you do.
You'll find the time.
You'll find the time if you need to. And you really need to like carve out that time. Wake up earlier. I know it's hard because that was me for the last 4 years of my life. It is, but once you start, it's not as hard.
Right. You get used to it. And for those people that say, oh, I commute too.
Tell them how long you commute for, though.
I commute minimum 45 minutes. And that's going to work. Not talking about the traffic going back home.
Yeah.
So that's why my schedule is wake up at 3:45, go to the gym before work. So now my gym session's done. And my first meeting is at 6:15 a.m. So I start early, yes. But then my day goes until 3:30, sometimes after, if you work overtime or you run into issues at work. So I work in an emergency department. Things can happen anytime.
Yeah.
So that's why I do things that are important to me in the morning. whether you want to wake up early and get some things done or go to the gym in the morning. Then when you get off of work, you have a little more time to do other things.
Yeah.
So that my mornings are everything. That's why the 5 a.m. club is,
The 5 a.m. club is the truth. I'm going to keep
really
saying it. I
really
didn't know it was a thing until this year, but it really is the truth for real.
Yes. Yeah.
And I know like a lot of people have asked me like, what has kept you motivated? And it's like, you said something to me the other day where it's like habits or something like just keep you motivated or something. It's like when you don't have motivation, like routine is what keeps you going.
Yes, like having your routine and consistency is everything.
Yeah.
Because but my boyfriend told me, if you can't stay motivated, stay consistent.
Yeah.
And we're not motivated all the time. We're tired. You come to work, like we work down in the city, people give you attitude, like you just like, oh my God, I just want to go home.
Yeah.
So you're not motivated all the time.
Yeah.
But if you're consistent, that consistency of doing those things every day, it leads to results.
Yeah. I think last week was like my first slump of I've been like doing this for like a month and a half now. And I'm like, oh, I'm really on it.
Yeah.
And then last week I was like, I'm tired.
You're tired.
I was tired though, because like I was working events after like my day job. Like we had a lot of events, and like because of my work schedule, it shifted my regular routine. So I was thrown off my regular routine, and I was like, oh crap, like I don't know what to do with this. I'm like, I don't know what to do with this. Yeah. I did reel it back in once I got back home, but also like being and having to travel and like do different things for work. If you are someone who travels a lot for work, trying to maybe think of a routine that just works more flexible for your schedule. And also, again, like, don't be too hard on yourself, but make sure you actually pull through with it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, you can't just be like, oh, I'm not going to go. I'm not going to be hard on myself today. Like, okay, some days are like that, but it can't be an excuse every other day.
Right. Just because you don't feel like it.
No, it can't be an excuse every other day. So, I don't know. What do we want to say to the girls who, like, are thinking about taking that leap and investing in themselves, thinking about going back to school or thinking about taking that course or thinking about investing in that? Like, what do we want to say to them?
Well, I would give a piece of advice, especially the women. A lot of industries could be, male dominated. I'm the only female in my department.
Yeah.
So I understand how it is to be the only female and underestimated, overlooked. So I understand. And I know that we work 10 times as hard just to feel like we're on the same level.
Yeah.
Most of us are way above it and we don't realize it or give ourselves enough credit. So what I say is have confidence. Have confidence to just go out there, have a conversation with somebody. Like I said, take a course, take something and just learn. Just be out there. COVID's kind of over. We can go outside now and we can talk to people. Yeah. We can talk to humans again. So go out there and have that confidence, because 9 times out of 10, they won't know more than you.
Yeah.
So
no, that's true. I agree. I think I would, again, like I always say, second whoever I'm speaking to, because it's usually dropping gems that you're dropping. But I would just say don't, and we talked about this in the last episode too, like when imposter syndrome comes into play, when you're feeling like, oh, I'm not sure I should do it because I don't have the time. I would say be realistic, but also don't be realistic. Like you might have to be a little delusional to take that next step to be like, oh, can I really do this? Yes, you can. Just tell yourself that you can do it, and you likely can do it. I'm not going to say likely, you can do it, because you just have to set your mind up, like mind over matter 1,000%. You are capable, you have the tools. And if you're likely thinking about taking the next steps to do something, it's because you know you have the tools to do it. And you have the knowledge to do it. You're just not trusting in yourself to take that next step.
Yeah.
So invest your money in yourself, invest your education, invest all those things in yourself, because your biggest investment will always be yourself.
100%.
1,000%. But tell the people where they can find you. What's your Instagram? What's all that? Where can they find you?
I'll just start with my Instagram. It's Krissy the Realtor. That's KRISSY the Realtor on Instagram. So you can find me everything else from there.
Yay! Okay, and cheers. I will put her name in the show notes so you can have it. And cheers. Thanks for joining us on this episode. Go invest in yourself. Get out there. Put yourself out there in 2024 and more, and keep going. And thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you.
Yay!